Alrighty, so I'm doing this review a little later than anticipated because I want to finish watching the Copa America final, and apparently the final was delayed for about an hour because of a crowd issue, and that final just finished. Congratulations to Argentina once again lifting the Copa America trophy. Though there is some bad news if you're an Inter Miami fans, and even if you're Don Gabber watching this Copa America final, because Messi did get subbed out in this game because of injuries, and you hope that that injury is not serious enough where he won't be able to return to Inter Miami straight away after this tournament. But not to mention not being available in that MLS All Star game because somewhere in New York, Don Gabber are really praying that injury is not serious enough that he won't be featured in this MLS All Star game because, after all, an MLS All Star game without Messi will not be as big of an event as if Messi is going to be there, and most likely is going to be the captain of the MLS All Star when they take on the MX All Star in a couple of weeks in Columbus. But that being said, let us actually get into these games because, again, it's a bit late. I want to do this video straight away so I can upload it and then basically go to sleep because I have to go to work tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning on this Sunday night. But we start off with the first game, which is Cincinnati versus Charlotte FC, and let's also have a chance to talk about how there were definitely some very surprising result this week and some statement wins that were made by some of these teams, and one of those teams is Charlotte FC. So coming into this game, obviously we know Cincinnati, they are all coming off of an amazing win, really a statement win after winning 6-1 against Inter Miami, and now have took the lead in the Supporters Shield standing. Now the good news is they'll still be the team that is at the top of the Supporters Shield standing because Miami didn't play this week. They got the bye week sweepstake. The bad news is they lost this game against Charlotte, and Charlotte definitely have just sent a message to the rest of the league that they are no longer a dark horse team. They're a team that nobody should be thinking that they're flying under the radar. This team can definitely be a big bit of a surprise in terms of the rest of the season and in that playoff race, especially if Charlotte does get some reinforcement on the attacking end. Because yeah, we know that this Charlotte team is a very good defensive team, and that now that it seems like they're starting to figure out on the attacking end, and as I mentioned, if they do get those attacking reinforcement, watch out. Charlotte could join that conversation in terms of some of those top teams in the Eastern Conference that could once again be like what happened last season where it was a bloodbath to decide who's going to be representing the East in MLS Cup. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Oriano hits it right to Kalina before the first shot for Charlotte saw Abada hits it right to Sautano. The shots were only one apiece for both of these teams 15 minutes in, but then in the 20th minute, Charlotte takes the lead. It's Tavares. He scored from Abada to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead, and then just a couple of minutes later, Abada would get on the score sheet himself. And he scored from Westwood to make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte, and in a blink of an eye, the crowd at TKO Stadium, they were in stunned silence because I'm pretty sure Cincinnati, they still didn't know what hit them with the way that they concede two goals in quick succession, and now all of a sudden they found themselves 2-0 down in this game. Sautano then denied Burn from close range in the 27th minute. Who is this Charlotte attack? I mean, the way that Charlotte attack in the early bit, it's almost unrecognizable. It looked like a team that, as good as Charlotte has been this season, well, the thing that kind of held them back is their attacking talent. But man, at least in the first 30 minutes, they were definitely taking this Cincinnati defense and they were pulling them apart. Now, obviously, I know some will say that this Cincinnati defense has not been good as it used to be, and part of that is because they've been battling with so much injuries. And I mentioned before that is like the top priority they need heading into the summer to reinforce that defense if they want to be cup contender. But yeah, I mean, it was quite crazy to see how Charlotte just completely shredded that Cincinnati defense, and we're looking to make it 3-0. Robinson then hits it wide from close in the 40th minute before Yetland would hit it wide from close in the 44th minute. As I thought Cincinnati started to get the momentum back, they were pressing back to get one back, and they do. As Lucho Acosta. So when all things are in doubt, why not rely on your captain and the reigning MVP as he scored here from Assad to get one back for Cincinnati. Oriano did look to tie it, but he hits it right to Kalina. But we do head to halftime with Charlotte leading 2-1. In the second half, A penalty was given to Cincinnati as Malanda handballed this one in the box. So you're thinking, well, here we go. This is where Cincinnati is going to make their comeback. And with Lucho Acosta steps up to take a penalty, you know he's not going to miss the penalty, right? Right? Well, Kalina had other ideas because he denied Acosta from the spot. I think that's the first penalty that Acosta has missed in a very long time. In fact, I don't think Acosta has missed a penalty so far for Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, and it was not a bad penalty there from Lucio Acosta, but Kalina just gets it up the right way, and yeah, what a big moment that was. And then it looked like Oriano put it into the back net just 1 minute later, but the goal was disallowed for offside on the development play, and this is when you start to think, oh boy, this is not Cincinnati night, is it? It feels like everything has gone against them in this one, whether it's penalty that is being saved and then a goal that was disallowed. Though at least at that point, it feels like Cincinnati was in business. They were trying to press for the equalizer. Bada would hit one right to Kalina before Diani would put it wide from close range. But then in the 66th minute, Javi Vargas restored the 2 goal lead for Charlotte as he scored here from Westwood to make it 3-1 in favor of Charlotte. And then the post on the other end denying Kubo and Cincinnati's second goal. And then just moments after Cincinnati hit the post there, Miles Robinson would commit a denial of goal score opportunity offense there. So he, of course, is sent off. And again, that moment just kind of sums up Cincinnati night because, again, just luck doesn't seem like it was in their favor in this game. Though I will say that at least they got a little bit of a consolation just a couple of minutes later because Abada thought that he made it 4-1 in favor of Charlotte, only for VAR to say that the goal doesn't count because of offside. And then the post would deny Halsey in the near post, so that's twice in this game that Cincinnati has hit the post. And mind you, they also have a goal disallowed by VAR and also a penalty kick that was being saved. Again, just Cincinnati can continue to get blue ball in this game. Galena then denied Santos from close in the 90th minute, but in the end, it's a statement win for Charlotte. Probably the biggest win that they've ever had in their franchise history as they win 3-1 on the road against Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team that we thought that they were unstoppable after that 6-1 win that they had against Inter Miami. And this also just kind of shows you how every week in MLS it can be unpredictable. You could have a team that just fresh off probably the biggest win of the season, and then you know how many times I've always said in the preview, yes, you on one hand they can maybe carry that momentum into the next game, but also it could be a bit of a letdown down too because of a big win that you had. And yeah, this was definitely a bit of a letdown for Cincinnati after that 6-1 thrashing that they had in that supporter shield battle. But the shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 14 that Charlotte has. Both teams had 7 shots on goal, 6 shots off target for the 4 that Charlotte has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that Cincinnati has, and both of these teams had 50% possession. And like I said, Charlotte, I think people need to start paying attention to this team. And again, if this team does get the right signing in terms of the attack, this is a team that could really make some noise in the Eastern Conference. And I've already said that they are definitely a dark horse heading into the Eastern Conference. Well, in the latter part of this season and in the fix of the playoff race. Forget about them being a dark horse. They could be a contender. And what a difference it has made. Consider this was a team that looked like they were doom and gloom heading into this season, and yet they have proved everybody, including myself, wrong because I predicted them to finish second to dead last this season. They're not going to finish second to dead last this season. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is DC and Nashville SC. And for DC, finally, they got a win in their name. It feels like it's been a long time since that has happened. And, you know, for Nashville, we're really hoping that they can turn the page after just such a disastrous performance that they had against the Portland Timbers. And early on, it looked like they were going to do so, but that being said, Kutubia did puts it over on a bad giveaway there from Nashville, and then Willis denied Santos from the header as I thought DC was on the front foot. They were looking to trying to get the opening goal. Stroud would then puts it wide from close range. Then really completely against the run of play. Tyler Boyd would score from Bunbury and Lovitz to give Nashville a 1-0 lead. That was the first shot for Nashville, just completely against the run of play. And this is where you're thinking, oh wow, that's not great for DC, isn't it? I mean, just getting sucker punch here, which at times just kind of sums up this season for them in the beginning, where they play well, but they just get sucker punch here. But to their credit, they did respond well. Stroud did look to answer, but he puts it wide before Willis denied Stroud from close range, as I thought it was a good response for DC. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Bono would then deny Surge on the doorstep of goal, and then Pietro would hit the side netting from close range. Despite DC definitely put some pressure on this Nashville side, we had to halftime with Nashville taking the 1-0 lead. In the second half, it was pretty much the same. DC continued to press for the equalizer. Willis would then first deny Herrera from close range, but then in the 50th minute, the pressure finally paid off. It's Dahome. He scored from Benteke to tie the game up at one apiece, and then 5 minutes later, he would score again, but this time, definitely one that was in contention for goal of the week. He absolutely hit this one on a frozen rope from long range to score there and give DC the lead, as he scored here from Santos and Rodriguez to make it 2-1 in favor of DC. And then Rodriguez himself wanted to get on the score sheet, but he puts it high from long range. And again, DC have just completely taken over this game. To be fair, they kind of took over this game from minute one. They were dominating this game. And if you're Nashville, feels like it's bad flashback moment, because remember in the last game against the Timbers where Nashville, once they conceded the first goal, the second goal was not going to come, and next thing you know, it's going to be 3-4 goals, as we see, and I thought this was going to be the case uh, again. Though that being said, they almost tied it up just a couple of minutes after I wrote that, if it wasn't for the post getting in the way of Yearwood's shot. Mukhtar would then puts it high from long range before Willis on the other end denied Santos from close. Mukhtar would then fires it right to Bono, and really as the time winds down, DC kind of realized that, yeah, this game started to become too much back and forth. Their liking to try to hold on to this 2-1 lead. So what do? They try to slow the game down, trying to seek out a massive 3 points that they have not gotten in almost 2 months. What is it? Priani. I almost said Diani there. I was thinking about this game still. But Priani here did look to slow shut the door here for DC, but he missed wide there, and then Merrill would hit one wide, or actually he hits one right to Willis in the 5th minute of stoppage time, as DC were pushing late to get that third goal. They don't get it, but they do get the 3 points, and like I said, first win that they have since May, as they win 2-1 in this one, and also snap an 11-game winless run that they were on. Shots in this one, 18 shots for the 10 that Nashville has, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that DC had, 7 shots off target for the 4 that Nashville has. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 55% possession. Compare the 45% possession that Nashville has in this game. And also with this win, DC is off the foot of the Eastern Conference now. And for Nashville, yeah, again, this has been the problem for Nashville this season, where for every good moment that they have, for every time they look like they got a step or two ahead of the game, they fall back one step or two step back because of the inconsistency that they've been showing throughout the season. And even with the firing of Gary Smith, it hasn't really quite changed the inconsistency that they have shown throughout the season. That being said, moving on in the next match is Montreal and Atlanta. So it feels like it's been a while since Montreal has got a clean sheet, but that's exactly what they had in this game. And in fact, this was a very dominant performance by Montreal, and in a game where it was kind of almost like a desperation derby between two teams at this outside the playoffs. It looked like one team showed up, and the other team definitely didn't show up in majority part of this game. And to be fair, I would also say that Montreal probably should have finished this game, and probably should have scored more than the one goal that they had in this entire game. Now, the first shot of the game did see Opoku puts it over from long range, as the shots were only 1-0 for Montreal early in this game. Lassiter would hit one right to Guzan before Guzan denied Edwards from close. And then Lassiter would hit one right to Guzan in the 35th minute. Montreal completely have took over this game. They were pressing to try to get the opening goal. Lassiter would flash one wide from close range before Martinez would flash one wide from the free kick. So Joseph Martinez, he was definitely motivated coming into this game. Once again, facing against his former team, wasn't able to get a goal in this game against his former team. Though, in fact, I don't think he has scored against his former team ever since he decided to join Inter Miami and now with CF Montreal. But 40 minutes into this game, Atlanta has still yet to register a shot. And again, it just feels like it was complete domination up to this point. But the bad news for Montreal is it's still 0-0 up to this point, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. But they make sure eventually they do get the goal that they deserve after all the pressure, because in the 51st minute, Juan would gets the opening goal for Montreal. So he scored here from Edwards, and Lassiter to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. All of a sudden, Juan is scoring goals for Montreal. I mean, this is a guy that feels like he has completely fall off the cliff ever since he left Orlando City, but recently he's definitely been in good form and again scoring goals for this Montreal side. I think this is now the second consecutive game that Juan gets on the score sheet. Rios then had a header that was deflected and goes wide, and if you can't believe, that was the first shot for Atlanta United. So good news for Atlanta fans is that they were worried that they're gonna go the entire game without a shot. They finally did so in the 54th minute, but unfortunately, just 1 minute later, things gets even tougher for Atlanta as Gregerson would get himself sent off here because of a second yellow card. Really, just a silly second yellow card too. You can't not make that challenge if you're Gregerson if you're already sitting on a yellow card. Opoku then puts it wide from long range before Edwards had a shot that was blocked from 12 yards out. Montreal once again has took over this game since the red card, but the question is, can they continue to push to get the second goal to kill this game off? Because how many times we have said that when you don't get that second goal, it can come back to haunt you, even if you're facing against a 10-man team. Guzan would then absolutely rob Martinez and his chance to score against his former team, and then Vassan was in on goal there, but he was also robbed by Guzan. And then he denied Toy from long range in the 87th minute. Brad Guzan was definitely turning back the clock in this game. I mean, I know that he hasn't been playing well lately for Atlanta, and that's actually could be true for the past year or two. He looks like he's been a shadow of his old self. Not in this game though. He definitely turned back the clock. He was being a wall in this game and trying to keep Atlanta in this game as long as possible. Though Toy did put it wide from long range in the third minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, despite Montreal didn't get that second goal to kill this game off, they did get the 3 points and win 1-0 against Atlanta. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 9 that Atlanta has, but no shots on goal compared to 7 that Montreal has. And only one shot off target compared to 5 that Montreal has. So basically, 8 of the nine shots that Atlanta has in this game were all blocked. In fact, it should be 7 out of 8 games because for whatever reason, MLS, whoever keeps the stats, doesn't know how to do math when there should be 8 shots for Atlanta because 1 plus 7 doesn't add up to 9. But going back to the shots that was blocked, 4 shots that was blocked with the 7 that Atlanta has, and possession wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Atlanta has. So again, for Montreal, a huge win for them to boost their chance to get into the playoff picture. But for Atlanta United, really these last couple of games, you can clearly see that the new interim head coach boost is starting to wither down, and that these last two game under Rob Valentino looks very similar to when they were under Gonzalo Pineda, and they cannot wait until when we get into the summer transfer window where they will bring some reinforcement because yeah, reinforcement would absolutely need it for a team that just they look like lost right now as we head into the beginning of the transfer window, which should open very soon. In fact, technically the transfer window is actually open in Canada because for whatever reason MLS has this weird transfer window rule where the Canadian team gets a week head start in terms of it being open compared to US based team will have to wait a week before it officially opens. But that being said, moving on into the next match is New England and Orlando City. So two teams that kind of had an awful start to the season started to revitalize themselves at least recently. And early on, it looked like New England were the team to continue to start their revitalize, and then Orlando basically showed up in the second half and kind of turned the the second half to their advantage. But early on, Ojeda would put it high from long range before Ismail Bajatovic would hit one right to Galese. The shots were one apiece for both of these teams early on, though I thought New England were getting most of the possession, and that's not a big surprise because that's how Orlando City does. That's how an all-competitive team always do. They always like to just kind of sit deep and maybe get a goal there to win a game. So this felt like it was a very Orlando road game up to this point. But what is not an Orlando road game is them giving up the first goal because in the 22nd minute, Veroni would score from Jones and Bajatovic to give New England a 1-0 lead. And this, again, is going to be a big debate for Revs fans and certainly for Caleb Porter. And it's really a big decision for the front office, too, of do you want to keep Veroni or do you want to go for out to spend a DP number 9? Because, again, while Veroni, obviously, I still think that he's not live up to the DP tag that he has. He's actually been playing very well recently, and that's where it just makes it the decision even harder now if you're New England of the fact that, well, yeah, Veroni hasn't lived up to what we paid for him until recently. Now that he's been in red hot form, so do we think about trusting that this form is going to continue, or the fact that we're going to bring in a DP number 9 and eventually replace him? That's going to be a tough decision that New England is going to have to make as we head into the beginning of the transfer window. But then in the 32nd minutes, we saw Enrique hits one right to Ivasic before Arujo puts it wide from long range in the 35th minute. Ivasic then denied for Holson on the doorstep of goal, and I thought Orlando responded well. They were looking to try to press for the equalizer heading into halftime, but New England does head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. That 1-0 advantage quickly disappeared in the second half because 6 minutes in, you know who else has also started to revitalize their season? Facu Torres. And it's no surprise that Torres, ever since he has really looked like the Facu Torres that we know he was for this Orlando City side all this season, that Orlando City has started to click again. As he scored here from Angulo to tie the game up at 1 apiece, Ivasic then denied Torres again from close range. But then in the 59th minute, Enrique would score from Arujo and Ojeda to give Orlando City a 2-1 win. So that's got to be good news if you're an Orlando City fan, even seeing your depth play well, and obviously Duncan McGuire not available in this game, and Enrique hasn't been getting a lot of chances besides coming off the bench. This is a rare start for him, and he definitely paid Oscar Pereira back with him getting his first start and getting the goal and what turns out to be the winning goal of this game. But at the same time, I also thought that was poor set piece defending from New England because again, just way too much space there for Enrique to hit this one in the back post. But Orlando wouldn't care. They were leading 2-1 in this one. Arujo looked for another one, but he finished or he flashed one wide from the corner. New England had no answer in terms of defending corners up to this point. They were having a lot of issue in terms of dealing with it. Then Palan you then flash one wide from long range before Harkswood hits one right to Galese. Galese then didn't deny Montreal from close, but then in the 81st minute, guess who? It's that man again, Facu Torres. He shut the door in this game and make sure this game is won by Orlando City as he scored from Montreal and Ladero to make it 3-1 in this game. And yeah, that is the final score of this game as Orlando continue to win on the road. As I mentioned many times, this is what's been keeping them in the playoff race. Though, as I also said before, they have definitely played much better in their recent game, and they're showing that now really on a good run and really started to charge up the standing in the Eastern Conference and started to kind of look like what we saw last season with Orlando, where last season Orlando kind of got off to a slow start too, but as the second half started to come through, they started to find something, and eventually that was enough to get them all the way up to second in the Eastern Conference. Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to happen again, considering how good the East is, and there's a lot of separation between the top two compared to the rest of the team in the Eastern Conference, but one thing for sure is that if Orlando continue to play as well as they do right now, they can definitely be back into what I would say is what the expectation should be this season of them finishing the top part of the standing. This team was really underachieving a lot in the beginning of the season, but it's gonna be good if you're Oscar Pereira. The fact that it feels like he's finally figured it out, and finally this team started to look like the team that we saw last season, especially in the second half of the season. A good defensive team, but also lethal going forward on the attack. For the shots in this one, 15 shots for the 8 that New England has, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that Orlando City has, 4 shots off target for the 2 that New England has. Both teams had 2 shots as blocked, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And unfortunately for New England, remember that kind of revitalized kind of play that they had about a month or two ago, winning 4 in a row? It's been kind of inconsistent lately, and that's why they're still kind of stuck near the bottom of the standings and trying to still get themselves over the playoff line. That being said, I am now going to change boards and look at the last 4 games to finish up this review, at least part number 1 of match week number 25. So moving on in the next one. So as I said, this is a desperation derby between two teams that have come into this game with a long winless run, and they desperately need to win to snap out of it. And in the end, it's Toronto, the one that is able to snap out of their long winless run. And for the Union, yeah, this game felt like it like almost a repeat of what we saw in the game against the Fire. Once again, blowing leads late in this game to drop all 3 points in this game. Now, early on, Owusu would miss wide from close range as there was not much chances created, at least in the first 17 minutes of this game. Benedeski then flashed one wide from long range before Lowe would put one right to Johnson. Bueno then flashed one wide from close range, and then Johnson would deny Uru from close range as I thought the Union started getting some momentum, putting some sustained pressure and pushing for the opening goal. And they get it in the 39th minute as Marino would score from Wagner to give the Union a 1-0 lead. Owusu didn't look to try to answer, but he just could not quite hit this one in from close range. And we do head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. And if you're a Union fan, you're hoping, yeah, we're leading 1-0, but how are they gonna trying to blow this lead in this game? Well, spoiler alert, they definitely did it again, at least late in this one. So in the 52nd minute, Uru would hit one right to Rick before not to Rick, I'm sorry, but right to Johnson before Owusu would hit one right to Rick in the 56th minute. Insigne then puts it wide from close range. I thought TFC looked like they were the better team early on, and again, this is bad news for the Union because that complacency has started to show again, just like what we saw against Chicago, being very complacent in the second half, and they were punished. Sullivan would then puts it wide from close range, but then in the 74th minute, Toronto gets the equalizer. Jack Elliott was credited as an own goal. In fact, I what OG in terms of the goal scoring chart, but it was actually originally given to Jaquil Marshall-Rutty, but on closer look, it looked like that was last touch of Elliott. He puts it into his own net. I mean, those are one that if you're a defender, that's like the worst case scenario when the ball is pushed into the box and you got an attacker right in your face. You want to try to slide that one away for a corner, but you also don't want to just slide it into your own net. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we saw with Jack Elliott, and also kind of sums up his season as well. Between him and Glesnes, man, what a complete fall off it's been between those two center back duo. Those two center back duo were considered to be the best in the league for the last couple of years, but they just completely fall off the map this season. And really, I think that warning sign kind of all started not just recently, but really back in that first game. Remember when the Union play against Saprissa and how the Union their defensive line was not very good whatsoever, and both Elliott and Glesnes was making mistake. Now at that point, we thought that was just kind of them getting back to match fitness and match sharpness. But now, fast forward a couple of months after that fateful night in Costa Rica, it seems like that was not just because of a match fitness or match sharpness kind of issue. It looked like that was a foreshadow of how this back line would just completely fall apart and just look like day and night compared to what we usually accustomed the Union being a very good defensive team. And then 4 minutes later, they would concede the second goal and would be the winning goal for Toronto as DeAndre Kerr coming off the bench here, scoring from Insigne and Flores to give TFC a 2-1 lead. It just feels like deja vu all over again for the Union, self-destructing as soon as they give up a goal in the second half. And then Lowe did try to look to response, but he puts it over in the 82nd minute. And yeah, in the end, Toronto, they get a 2-1 win in this one. They snap their long winless run, whereas the Union winless run continue. Shots in this one, 10 shots for the 11 that the Union has, 4 shots on goal for the 2 that TFC had, 6 shots off target for the 5 that Toronto has, 2 shots on blocked for the none that the Union has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession the Union has in this game. And again, I'm gonna try to find time to make that video talk about the Union and this long winless run that they have gone and them just completely go through a depth spiral in these last month or two to have now got themselves in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Like if you would have told me that was the case a couple of months ago when they were doing well, nobody would have believed you. But that's where we are right now. I mean, this Jim Curran team, this is probably the worst I've seen a Jim Curran team play probably since before when they got this main core that they had a couple of years ago. I mean, this core has just completely self-destruct to a point where it is pretty clear that it's rebuilding time for this Union team. There's no debate of whether or not if they're gonna think about keeping the core and hope that it'll turn around. It is clearly rebuilding time because whatever confidence that this core still have in terms of making the MLS Cup run, it is dead and buried right now. And I expect maybe the Union is going to start to sell off some pieces here in the summer, and then during the off season, don't be surprised we're going to see a lot of exit from this Union team as well. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match. Oh, look. Looks like the Seattle Sounders is in their second half resurgent again, isn't it? I mean, I mentioned it even in the preview. This feels like the Sounders, what they're doing this season is very similar to what we used to accompany them for the past where they kind of punt the first half of the season, but then just go on a crazy second half resurgent and eventually reach MLS Cup. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's going to be the case this season because I still think the West they're it's still dominated by two really good teams, that is RSL and LAFC. Though knowing how they play those two Western Conference teams, as I get to part two of the review, maybe things could be a little different. But that being said, Seattle has definitely played much better, and part of that is because Jordan Morris has definitely woken up ever since this hot streak that Seattle has been on. Now, early on, Zardes would put it wide from close range, as I thought Austin was on the front foot. They were looking to try to get an early lead. Stuver would tip De La Vega shot over from the free kick before Galese would put it high from long range. And by the way, Pedro De La Vega gets the start in this one. That's as rare as a sight and as what we have seen the Sounders in terms of, I wouldn't want to say wins because they have definitely got more wins, but at least in the early part of the season when the Sounders were kind of like losing every single game, Gallagher then puts it high from long range before João Paulo puts a one hopper right to Stewart. There was a count for a penalty for Austin that was not given. Instead, it was actually a free kick that was given to Austin as the foul was judged to be outside the box. And then on that ensuing free kick, Driussi would put it wide off the free kick. So, yeah, Austin had some chances early on, but we had the second half with the score tie at 0-0. In the second half, Fry would deny Driussi from close before Rothrock would hits it right to Stuvart. How about this kid, Paul Rothrock? I mean, this is a kid that kind of came out of nowhere a couple of months ago. I mean, I wouldn't say he kind of come out of nowhere. He's been kind of a heroic figure for the Sounders in terms of Open Cup play, but now it seems like it's now transitioned into league play because he's been rock solid in terms of how he's been playing. And again, no pun intended in terms of his part of his last name. Driussi would then hits it right to Stubert in the 56th minute. There's definitely some good chances for both of these teams, but who can get the opening goal? Well, Leo Chu tried to do so, but Stuvert was having other ideas as he denied him on the doorstep of goal. But in the 63rd minute, Stewart couldn't do anything about this attempt from Jordan Morris because he scored here from Rothrock and Vargas to give Seattle a 1-0 lead. Again, when Jordan Morris is on fire, yeah, you better believe Seattle is going to not only do well, but that's bad news for the team that's facing against the Sounders team because again, it feels like Jordan Morris has finally snapped out of this poor form that he had in the beginning of the season and started to look like the Jordan Morris that we saw from a couple of years ago. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and I think that was kind of by design because Sounders want to slow this game down. It looked like that goal really killed any kind of chance of Austin coming back. Though in the 77th minute, it looked like it was all pretty much the case with hindsight getting a second yellow card in this game, and then on the ensuing free kick, Rusnak would hit the post in the 78th minute. I mean, that was so close from him scoring a wonderful free kick to kill this game off. Rubio would then hit it wide from close range, and then Fry would absolutely rob CJ Forestry on the doorstep of goal. And all of a sudden, despite the fact that Austin is down to 10 men. Seattle maybe being a little bit too complacent. They were kind of holding on for dear life a little bit. But in the end, they do hold on to get a big 1-0 win on the road over Austin. Shots of this one, 12 shots committed, 9 that Seattle has. 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Austin had. 5 shots off target for the 1 that the Sounders had. 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Austin had. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession the Sounders has in this game. And again, the Sounders continue to win. They continue to charge up the standings in the Western Conference. Whereas for Austin, the inconsistency continue with this team, and that in this game it's kind of they kind of showed the two version of them where at one point they showed that it looked like they were in for another one of those kind of devil magic win of them scoring a goal and maybe winning this game, but then there's also signs where at times, especially after when Seattle got that opening goal where they looked like the worst team in the league, just couldn't do anything whatsoever on the build-up, and then they try to push late and try to find that devil magic again. Wasn't able to do so in this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So I gotta say, we have seen some very thrilling nil-nil draws at least recently. This was not one of those because this turns out to be kind of a bit of a slop fest, and I think the first 25 minutes kind of showcased that too because it was just absolutely a bore fest in the first 25 minutes in this game between the Fire and NYCFC, and it took us until the 26th minute when we saw the first shot of the game that saw Tennis Savic puts it high from close range before Parks puts one into the stands, and then Mueller would have the first chance for the Fire, but he puts that one high, and then Santi Rodriguez would hit one right to Brady as the Jets started to at least come a little bit. Both of these teams were starting to get some shots, but again, none of them seems to really trouble either of these goalkeeper. Kuipers would then pull it wide from long range, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, I thought the Fire was on the front foot, but like the start of the first half, in this start of the second half, not much chances was even created in the beginning of the second half. Though the post did deny Ilinic from close range, as that was the closest we came in terms of anybody scoring here. Kuipers would then puts it wide from close, and then Jimenez would puts it wide from long range in the 76th minute. The Fire would start to press to try to get all 3 points, and they know that they need 3 points. I mean, after that embarrassment that they took in the hands of the San Jose Earthquakes, a 3 points at home is an absolute must. Kutsia tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range, and then it looked like we did get the opening goal in the 86th minute when Bakra puts it into the back of net, but VAR says that the goal was disallowed for offside, and I just don't see it. I mean, unless if it's something maybe before the play, I mean, I don't think Bakra was in an offside position or even anything leading up to that play. So yeah, again, if that is the case, that's another game where we've seen VAR get it wrong, and I'm pretty sure NYCFC fan will be absolutely livid the fact that they got robbed in this game. But Haile Selassie then puts it right to freeze as the flag went up here. The boos were raining down at Soldier Field, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of a familiar kind of sight that we've seen nowadays at Soldier Field, probably for the past decade. So for this Fire team, because yeah, for the Chicago Fire, it feels like I said before when I started doing review on this channel how the Fire seems to have this pattern where they win, they lose, and then they draw the next game, and they just keep following that pattern over and over again, and that really frustrates a lot of Fire fans because it just kind of shows the inconsistency that they have. Feels like they're now following that pattern again. It's a new no draw in this game against NYCFC. 11 shots for the 7 that NYCFC had. 1 shot on goal for the 2 that the Fire has. 5 shots off target for the 3 that the NYCFC had. 1 shot that was blocked for the 3 that the Fire has. And possession wise, 50% for both of these teams. And, even if you're in the visitor NYCFC, I don't think they're happy with this result as well. Obviously, I know they'll be very upset about that disallowed goal that probably shouldn't have been disallowed, but they didn't play well in this game either. And again, the road struggle continue for Nick Cushion's team. The team, for some reason, they just don't play as well as they are on the road compared to playing at home. Now, some would say that obviously it's because of the fact that when NYCFC is playing at a baseball stadium, they get the advantage in terms of dimension, and maybe that is the case at least from what we've seen before, where NYCFC always seems to do very well at home compared to when they're doing on the road. Well, they need to figure this out because yeah, there's no doubt that yes, even though these home games are going to be able to push themselves into the playoffs, they're going to have to play some road games if they're going to finish in the lower seeds, and that yeah, that's going to be something that could not make this team go deep into the playoffs if they can't seems to able to win games on the road, and that and only rely on winning games at home, because again, even though the formula of course making the playoffs is win your home games and get draws on the road, it doesn't really quite always give you a formula to go deep into the playoffs and maybe be considered to be one of the contender in the Eastern Conference. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, is Dallas and the Galaxy. And I gotta say, for the Galaxy, they do not want to play Texas team, especially on the road. I mean, there's just something about the Galaxy when they play against Texas team this season that they really struggle and put some of the worst performance that they had. They had that against Austin earlier this season, which was one of the worst performances that they've ever put. And here against Dallas, it was kind of the same thing where they didn't really showed up. And again, I go back to what I even said in the preview. I think the reason why they really struggled to play against Texas team on the road, it's the heat and the humidity. I mean, the Texas heat is no joke whatsoever. And when you're a Galaxy team that likes to go direct and likes to run on the attack, you can't really quite do that, at least for the full 90 minutes when you play in the Texas heat. And I think that's kind of shown in this game where Dallas pretty much just dominated this game from start to finish. Now, the first shot of the game did see Musa get puts it high from long range before he puts it a high from long range in the 14th minute. It was all Dallas up to this point early on with the possession and the chance. Though the first chance for the Galaxy did see Peck puts it wide on the free kick, and then in the 20th minute, Junko would heads it right to McCarthy before Farrington would puts it wide off of a deflection. Kumungo then heads it wide from the corner as the Galaxy continue to look very uncomfortable defending set pieces. Not a big surprise because they tied the 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 league with the most set piece goal conceded, and that's been kind of the case since day one this season. And with all the pressure, sure that Dallas were putting, you knew eventually they were going to score one because after Paintsill fires it wide from long range in the 28th minute, there's that man again, Pedro Musa. He's been red hot lately, and he scored here to give Dallas a 1-0 lead, and that's obviously been coming as well because Dallas was really pushing to try to get the opening goal. Paintsill would then look to a response, but he hits the side netting before Ebiaga would heads it wide from the corner, and we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 1-0. In the second half, Kamungo hits it wide from close, and just like the first half, it's been all Dallas in the beginning of the second half as well. And just like what we saw in the first half, Dallas would score a goal in the second half as well, as Logan Farrington would score from Aramandi to give Dallas a 2-0 lead. Peck did try to respond, but he was denied by Paz before Ariola would put it wide on the doorstep of goal. Cuevas then curls it just wide from long range before Ansa would put it wide from close range, and it kind of started to become a little back and forth, which that doesn't really favor Dallas when they have the multi-goal lead. But in the end, they do hold on to win 2-0 in this game. Again, it was pretty much, for the most part, a dominant performance that they had. They had 20 shots in this one compared to 11 that the Galaxy had. 1 shot on goal compared to 6 that Dallas had. 7 shots off target compared to 6 that the Galaxy had. 4 shots on ball compared to 6 that Dallas had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession Dallas has in this game. So, again, the Galaxy, they definitely don't want to play Texas team anymore. I think they still have to play against the Dynamo on the road this season. I don't know when exactly they are going to do, but I think it is pretty much set in that when you're playing the Galaxy, and if you can stop them from going to direct and going quickly on the attack, you basically just stop the LA Galaxy because I think the Galaxy one the downfall with them being kind of a good transitional team and especially a team that is playing direct. If they are basically have the ball and basically are asked to break teams down, they don't really do a good job in terms of that. Although I will say that Ricky Pooch has can definitely open up a defense at times as well. But again, this is a team that I'm pretty sure that they're done with playing against Texas team after this. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of all of these games? Part 2, of course, is going to be tomorrow, looking at the last 6 games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.